Are your packages safe with FedEx? Today in this video I will be talking about a few FedEx flights which were either fatal or close to being. The more dangerous plane crashes will be at the end, so stay tuned. First up is FedEx Flight 910. FedEx Flight 910 was a scheduled domestic flight in America from Memphis, Tennessee to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The aircraft was an MD-10-10F registered as N370FE. On board was the 55-year-old captain with 10,000 flight hours, with 1,500 on the MD-10, and the 47-year-old first officer with around 6,300 flight hours, with only around 450 flight hours on the MD-10. Both pilots were war veterans and they fought in the Gulf, Bosnian and Kosovovian War. After around 2 hours of flying, the pilots landed at Fort Lauderdale's runway 10 left at 5:50 local time. However, the plane's left gear collapsed, making the plane skid down the runway for 6,580 feet, or 2,010 meters. The left engine and wing were on fire, but the crew escaped safely through the safety rope in the cockpit. There were no fatalities or injuries reported. The NTSB concluded that the cause of the accident was metal fatigue in the left gear. Next on the list is FedEx Flight 647, which was a scheduled domestic flight from Oakland, California to Memphis, Tennessee. The plane was an MD-10-10F registered as N364FE. On board was the 59-year-old captain with 21,000 flight hours, with 2,602 flight hours on the MD-10. Also on board was a 44-year-old first officer with 15,000 flight hours, with 1,918 on the MD-10. 5 other off-duty FedEx crew members were also on board the aircraft. The plane took off half an hour late at 8:32 a.m. However, at 12:26 local time, the plane touched down on runway 36 at Memphis. The first officer approached too fast and did not align the plane properly, and a bit of crosswind put stress on the aircraft's right gear upon landing. This made it collapse. The plane skidded to the right and went onto the grass. Everyone survived with only 2 injuries on board. The NTSB concluded that the cause of this accident was pilot error. Third on the list is FedEx Flight 14. This flight was a scheduled international flight from Singapore Airport to Newark Airport, with stops in Penang, Malaysia, Taipei, Taiwan, and Anchorage, Alaska. The aircraft was an MD-11 registered as N611FE. On board the MD-11 was 46-year-old Captain Robert Freeman with 11,000 flight hours, 1,253 on the MD-11. 39-year-old First Officer Donald Goodin with 3,703 flight hours, with 592 of those on the MD-11. Also on board were 3 other off-duty pilots. The pilots decided that due to them having only 2 out of the 3 thrust reversers, they would put the plane down early. During the night, the plane was on final when, during the flaring phase, the captain pointed the nose down and then up to flare for an early landing, but overcorrected, which made the plane bounce. The pilot once again did the same thing, except the plane rolled to the right and touched down. The right gear collapsed and the plane rolled over onto its back until it stopped. All the crew escaped through the cockpit window with only burn injuries. The NTSB concluded that the cause of this accident was the captain's over-control of the aircraft during the landing and his failure to go around after destabilized flare. Lastly is FedEx Flight 80. This was a scheduled international flight from Guangzhou, China to Tokyo Narita Airport, operated by an MD-11F registered as N526FE. On board was 54-year-old Captain Kevin Mosley, who had 12,800 flight hours with 3,684 on the MD-11. Also on board was 49-year-old Stephen Pinot, who had 6,300 flight hours with 879 on the MD-11. At 2:06 a.m. the pilots left China, and at 6:40 a.m. the flight was handed over to Tokyo Narita approach. The tower at Tokyo reported wind shear and strong winds up to 40 knots, but the pilots seemed to joke about it. As the plane landed, the high touchdown rate and the large nose up inputs made by the first officer made the plane bounce, but the first officer pushed the nose down, making the plane bounce a second time. Aircraft bounced a third time, however, the left gear collapsed and the plane rolled over onto its back. A big fire ensued which killed both pilots. The Japan Transport Safety Board found out that the cause of this accident was pilot error. Now you can make your own judgment whether FedEx is safe. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment more video ideas. Thanks.